So let's talk about the generational trauma of shoving things in closets, what that means, and how to heal that, and like what that really means and what that's really saying about kind of what you're going through. So first, closets in feng shui are places where we hide secrets. They are a physical and emotional metaphor for things that we don't like looking at. But before we go into anything deeper, because you're probably like, oh, Stacy, why? That hurts. I want to stop for a moment and actually talk about how this is generational for so many of us. As kids, especially here in the West, we are not taught how to emotionally regulate. We are not taught what to do with our emotions. We are not taught how to connect our bodily sensations and our thoughts to the lived experience of our emotions. So that being said, it is a very natural extension for you to have something that you're experiencing in your body, have absolutely no idea how to handle it because we were never taught. This is not a skill that we prize here in the West. So it makes absolute sense that you have something and you're like, I don't know what to do with it. So what do? We shove it under a rug. We shove it in a closet. But what do we do in our bodies? We push it down. We don't look at it. We pretend it doesn't exist. And this is why when I like to connect people to not only what's going on in their homes, but what's going on in their bodies and the emotions that they are pushing away, the sensations that they're pushing away, and then connecting them to the two of these, it's so powerful. Almost every single one of my one-to-one clients that I have ever worked with over years now has had some sort of inner child realization that they were shoving their emotions into closets. So many, because how I do inner child healing is that it's very self-guided. I'm here, I'm asking you questions, but my clients really, they take it away. They're the ones who are kind of weaving in and out of their inner world. And so many of them will, with their eyes closed, they'll say, I see closet. Like, okay, well, let's open up the door. And they open up the door and it's something that some sort of memory or an experience or feeling that they did not until that moment feel safe enough to access. And this is what then I start to see physically in the home. Because remember, the home is the mirror for what's happening in our life. It's telling our story. And what's happening in our body comes out in our spaces. So what I see physically in spaces is that we shove things in closets. Whether or not it's clutter. Sometimes it's actually stuff you want, you need, but we shove it there. And why this is generational trauma is twofold. Because one, we are not taught, again, as children, here in the West, we do not prize being connected to our emotional body and what is happening within ourselves. We prize things outside of ourselves, skills that you have to learn, things that accolades that you have to scoop up and, show off to everybody. You can tell I'm very dancey today with my body. But why that has become a generational trauma, why that has rolled downhill is because we are a nation of immigrants. Everybody in this country, I'm talking about the US, but certainly other countries as well, has come from another country. You go back far enough, your family did not originate here. I'm not trying to get political, I promise. But we did not originate here. So we came to this country. My family's only third generation, and I know for a fact that so much rolled downhill in my own family of you got to assimilate. You just got to do it. Whatever you think you know, just throw it out the door. You got to be an American now. Throw out your culture. Throw out your language. Throw out everything you think you know about the world and assimilate to this country now, or you don't survive. It was a survival technique. Don't worry about your emotions. We don't care about your emotions. You got to go get a job. You've got to go succeed. You've got to go scoop up all those accolades, those degrees. So over time, we have lost even deeper parts of ourselves, our connectedness, our roots. This is what we're talking about with the home. This is our rootedness to ourselves, to our core, to our soul. We've lost that even more because of the assimilation that so many of our families needed to go through just to survive in this country. Take that. Plus, we still in this country do not prize emotional learning. So of course we are going to end up with a epidemic of clutter where it gets shoved, particularly in closets, but you might find that you shove it in lots of different places. I once had a client who didn't actually put it in a closet. She would shove it behind her bed to hide it. So if you're sitting there going, oh, like if your insides have turned to jelly, this is exactly what I do. I want you to know that it's not your fault. You were never taught, but this is something that you can learn. And you have the power to learn this right now because you are learning it right now. You are watching. I had this beautiful thought in the car as I was driving to brunch earlier today that you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to sit at the table and be open to learning. That's what the healing process is. That's the transformational journey, the spiritual journey, healing through trauma. You can't possibly have all the answers right now. You just have to be open to learning. And that's what you're doing right now. So I want you to go through your home, take some mental notes. Where are you shoving things? For a lot of us, it's cabinets, drawers, closets, under the bed, behind the bed. It's okay. I just want you to make note of it. And I'm always the first one to push myself off of pedestals. My husband and I we were talking about some decluttering. He got got a little anxious last night and was like, I have to declutter underneath our sinks. And I'm like, I'm on the couch eating and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And he had mentioned this and he's like, I just feel like when we don't know what to do with stuff, we just shove it somewhere. And I just was like, oh my God, you're right. I still do it too. So I sat down, opened up all of the under the sink cabinets, which as you know, can get super messy. And I was like, let me actually go through and throw a whole bunch of stuff out. Expired lotions and medications and toothbrushes that, whatever they were like halfway open. God knows what I was doing. So this isn't always about sentimental objects too. Sometimes when we simply don't know what to do with something, we shove it somewhere, physically. Now, if we walk that idea back to ourselves, what do we do with an emotion that makes us uncomfortable, that makes us sad, fearful, angry, and we don't know how to channel that emotion? We shove it down, we shove it away, and we think it's gone because our mind is telling us it's gone, but it's not actually gone. It's gotten lodged somewhere in our body, and this is the origin point of dis-ease. When I started doing a lot of healing work through feng shui, through inner child healing, I was dealing with IBS, really severe teeth grinding. You can actually see it in photos. Like my masseter muscles are like huge. I have a very sharp jawline because I was clenching so tight. I've got chips in my teeth because I clench so tight. Because the way that I was pushing emotions away from myself, from an abusive childhood, it was all getting lodged in my jaw, in my throat, in my left upper shoulder, in my trapezius muscle, where I think I lived with a knot in my trapezius muscle for about 10 years. And it was also going to my gut, which is why I was, diagnosed with IBS many, many years ago. So although our brain is telling us out of sight, out of mind, it's never really out of sight, out of mind. Because your home is a metaphor for what's happening in your life and your body. Where are you shoving it away? And the reason that I tell people to do this work in their physical home is because it becomes easier if you do it in your home. It starts to open it up naturally in your body too. Especially if somatic work is new to you. If you're like, I don't know half of what this chick is talking about. If this is all new to you, start in your home. It is a fabulous place to start. Because in your home, you have 9 different energetic centers. Each of those energetic centers are actually connected to different body parts. They're connected to different aspects of your life, different body parts, different members of your family. This is where feng shui goes deep, so I'll try not to lay it on you too thick. But I know when I cleaned out those 2 sinks, I know exactly what 2 areas of my life are going to get cleaned out in my body as well. It's pretty powerful stuff. And this is why when I'm done working with some one-to-one folks, especially through the inner child healing portion of what we do, their physical ailments are gone. I had a client who ended with me not too long ago. She had kidney pain, left kidney pain. We worked on it, inner child-wise. But then we also worked on it in her home because the kidneys in feng shui represent water. And I was like, what's up with your pipes? And she goes, the hot thingy in my sink has like never worked. She was in a rental. She's like, it's actually never worked. I was like, okay, well, what can we do about this? I know it's a rental, so it's got some rules. And she goes, oh, no, the super will come. I've just never asked him. So by pairing together, opening up what she was too afraid to look at in her body that was in that left kidney, as I point to my right, her left kidney, and by pairing it within her home, by the end of our time together, she said she had never had kidney pain again. So I'm not telling you to go declutter your homes because I think you need to have minimalism. If you have followed me for any length of time, you know I hate that crap. I'm telling you to break your earthly bonds and your need for possession of things because it's keeping you stuck and it's potentially keeping you sick. I don't want that for you. So if you're sitting here, again, if your insides are turning to jelly, I want you to know that it's not your fault. Go back to the start of this video. Go through that again. Understand why this is not your fault. Quite simply, this is an emotional regulation technique that you were never taught, but you absolutely have the ability to learn. And you're doing it right now. This is doing the work. This is sitting at the table and saying, I'm not sure, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to take this as far as this takes me. There are so many different reasons that we will shove things away. And you might be sitting there going, oh, you might have memories popping up. Well, I shove things away because of this, and I shove this stuff here because of that. There is always an emotional component to why we feel that shoving sensation. Now, I'm not saying don't put stuff in your closets. That's what they're there for. Don't put stuff in your drawers. That's what they're there for. Put things in them. It helps us create order in our lives. But I want you to notice if you have one of those drawers or one of those closets that is just where everything goes to die. For me, that closet is actually here in my office, which is also our spare bedroom. It's just where everything goes to die. It's not the clothes closet, which gets used all the time because you go in there every day to choose your clothes. What are the closets? Excuse me. What are the drawers? What are the cabinets where things go to die? Whether you use them or not, let's step away from the word clutter for a moment. You might use stuff in there all the time, and still it might feel to you where you put things to die. So I want you to go through your home and just see where that is. And if you're curious in connecting the areas of your home to your different body parts, to the different aspects of your life, hop on my email list. I think it's the third link in the bio. It's reconnecting to your space. There's a guide in there that will help you energy map your home so you can start to lay out and see where your 9 energy centers are. These are things that connect to career, wealth and abundance, children, creativity, new beginnings, being seen by the world, all sorts of different stuff. And it goes so much deeper. Mother-daughter relationship. Because what I will always find is the place where we really shove things to die is the one thing, wherever that is in your home, it usually correlates with the thing that you most don't want to look at. So for me, when I was getting my feng shui certificate and I was starting to percolate all my ideas when it comes to trauma and this and that, and starting to piece this puzzle together. At the time where I was really shoving shit to die was underneath the TV in my living room. I had all these IKEA pull-out bins, and that's where I was shoving all the crap just to die. Where I didn't, just the random knickknacks of life. And then I just refused to go through it because I was like, out of sight, out of mind. I don't need to look at it. That area of my home was connected to family and new beginnings. At that time in my life, I was going through massive emotional upheaval when it comes to coming out of denial about the abuse of my parents. So I want you to know that it's okay, because there was no possible way at that time that I was going to be able to sit there all hunky-dory and be like, let me declutter. Because what my home was really asking me to do was to declutter all the emotions that I had been running away from. For about 17 years, I was in denial about my parents' abuse. That's what my home was really asking me to do, to really look at and sit with and declutter the emotions first. So that's why I always tell people, if you can't declutter right now, that's okay. If you feel the urge, rock on and go for it, because it will reveal deeper layers of healing for you if you feel like you want to declutter that area.